I just wanted to come on here and say I'm sorry. I voted for him, and I thought he was going to make things better for folks like us.
We are feeling a whole range of emotions as we process Trump's victory. Donald Trump is playing our communities, is playing American voters, is playing the Arab and Muslim community. And it is failed democratic leadership that is allowing him to do that. I mean, the folks who voted for Trump are not theoretical to me. The folks who voted for Trump are my cousins, my friends, people who were tasked with a very difficult task of carrying a lot of grief and trying to do a politically savvy thing at the same time.
Well, no surprise that Dearborn Heights, and city of Hamtramck voted all for President Trump. I think that there were a clear indication that this community was truly upset, angry at the Biden-Harris administration.
So many times you've heard other ethnic groups trying to say that if you ever need a true friend, look for black people. If you ever need somebody who can help you when you are in a problem, look for black people. But the biggest question is, and this is something I just want to ask the black community, like generally, especially black Americans in the United States, because specifically this is what is affecting them, right? Look, any other group, while they are not in problem, they don't want anything to do with black people. In fact, they don't want to go where black dominate, like areas where blacks dominate. But when they're in a problem, like in a situation where they need help, they are always the first people that are always thinking about calling. They're always thinking about calling black Americans. My only question is, why is this convenient unity? Why do you think that unity is only important when it's convenient to you or when you think it's beneficial to you? What about when also the other group, in that question, black people also need the help, right? So we are seeing a situation in which some Arabs who supported Trump, they later express their regret and appeal to black Americans for support. These illustrates a recurring pattern in US politics. And this is what they've been playing with black people. This is a game that they have been playing with black Americans because it is convenience unity rather than principled solidarity. Convenience unity forms when groups align temporarily based on perceived short-term benefits. They know for a purpose, for a goal, they know that this is something which is going to help them, right? They need things such as, economic promises, conservative social values, or proximity to political power without shared ethnical commitment to justice. When conditions change and those benefits disappear, the alliance collapses, revealing that it was never rooted in mutual accountability or respect. In short, when they get everything that they ever wanted, they cut ties with black people. Just like that. It's like it never even existed to begin with, right? So those are amongst the things that I want us to talk about today in this video. So brothers and sisters, let's buckle up for this video. I'm your number one host and present Age Tech Stories. And I know if you're watching me for the first time, I'm just asking you to please subscribe to the channel, join the membership, and really get to what I can offer you. But until then, let's get into the video. I'll be back with my thoughts and commentary in regards to this.
Make one thing very, very, very clear. We are going to do everything in our power to make sure Kamala Harris doesn't win. Vote for, if you want Donald Trump to win, say that. Bitch, I will vote for Satan if I have to. Remember, no one's free until we're all free. And we can't protect ourselves if we can't protect each other. This is the time for all the minorities, all the movements, all the working class to come together and really build power and really fight against the fascism that's been here, but finally popping its head out and being loud and proud about it. And unless we do something, really come together, it's gonna get real bad.
If you don't want to vote for Jill, vote for Donald Trump. But do not give a vote to Kamala Harris and expect to be welcomed by my community.
I came home the day I met Trump, and I gave my son a MAGA hat, and I said, I guess we're there. And he said, ew, his first words to me were, ew. I said, but Baba, he said he's going to stop the war. And he said, okay, that's it. Give me that hat. We're voting for Trump. And that's the sentiment, not just of an 8-year-old, but of an entire community. If you're going to stop the war, even if I don't like you, I'm on your team.
To all of you who are blaming us Arabs for Kamala losing, I'll tell you this. Kamala had everything already. All she had to do was stop sending billions of dollars to a foreign country. All she had to do was listen to the people, and she refused to do so. She shut down her voices time and time again. What did you think was going to happen? She's a grown woman. She made her choice, and she dug her own grave, and that's it. It has nothing to do with us. Particularly Palestinian voices were even talking about not endorsing the red and blue parties. And what do? Some of you? You vote for the parties that are hurting them in the first place. Did Palestine teach you nothing? Or do you just not care about them?
Good news, guys. President Donald Trump just announced and told the Prime Minister of Israel that he needs to stop the war on Gaza by the time he gets into the office, which is in less than 3 months. This is such a wonderful news. It truly made my day that it might be true and it might not be one of those fake promises. And I'm really hoping by the end of 2024 will also be the end of war and torture in Gaza and to Palestinian people. If this will be the case, 2025 will be the most joyful year for all of us as Muslims. And also, I truly think that Trump deserves more credit because of this than we might give to him. So hopefully, President Donald Trump, please stay on your promises and deliver to it and not.
When Donald Trump talks about U.S. ownership of Gaza, I need you to understand he is talking about a U.S. invasion. U.S. troops, boots on the ground invasion of Gaza. An invasion that would lead to the slaughter of thousands of Palestinians and U.S. soldiers and would lead to decades of war in the Middle East. U.S. soldiers would then be responsible and complicit in the forced relocation of the entire Palestinian population. Now keep in mind, forced relocation of a population by an occupying power is against the Geneva Convention. This is a war crime. So Donald Trump would not only be subjecting himself to the title of war criminal, but he would be subjecting U.S. troops, U.S. citizens to the title of war criminal as well. And he's not just talking about doing this in Gaza. He also said that he's planning to make an announcement about the future sovereignty of Judea and Samaria within the coming days as well, i.e. the West Bank. Donald Trump is attempting to remove ownership from Palestinians in all territories, and he's trying to make U.S. soldiers complicit in this war crime. Donald Trump is a massive threat to world peace.
Has anybody heard from the Muslim leaders from Hamtramck and Dearborn, Michigan? The mayor of Hamtramck, you know, the one that started praising and kissing Donald Trump's ass just before the election, and said because of Trump's promise to protect Gaza and the Palestinians, everybody should vote for Donald Trump. And he got a whole lot of the Muslim community around Detroit to vote for Donald Trump. I'm just wondering if anybody heard from those leaders. I mean, after Donald Trump came and made the token visit to tell them sweet lies, so that they could sell out their own people, they went on the local news channels and told Detroiters, vote for Donald Trump, don't vote for Kamala Harris. Because he stands for Palestine, he stands for peace in that whole conflict. And you could see the sliminess of these leaders, these men, who persuaded much of their community to vote for Trump. Has anybody heard from them? I just want to know, has anybody heard? Because Trump barely won Michigan. Had they not followed these shady, slimy leaders those in the Muslim community. Maybe Kamala Harris would have at least won Michigan. But I just want to know, where are they? They're not on our news stations tonight talking about Donald Trump's press conference to take over Gaza. They're not on the news channels here in Detroit. They were all over the place, just like that, when they could be to promote Donald Trump. But where are they tonight? I want to know where the fuck they are.
So that was a member of the Muslim American community there in Dearborn, Michigan, who told us if we voted for Kamala Harris, that we were not welcome in their community. And that was because of stances over Gaza, right? Well, yeah, this is going to be kind of awkward.
But didn't you...
We are going to do everything in our power to make sure Kamala Harris doesn't win. Vote for, if you want to vote Donald Trump.
No, I don't know if black people holistically have told you. We done with that holding hands and being side by side and going against the grain. That's over. And a lot of y'all thought it was a joke. A lot of y'all thought it was a game after the election. Everybody from that movement was like, oh, that's just black people online. They don't represent the whole black community. You sure about that now? Because they saying it in real life too. Real bad. Again, you want any type of black solidarity, any type of black anything, you need to clock that anti-blackness. We've been telling y'all this for 6-7 months, and you guys still continue to not listen. You called a black woman outside of her name. And then you try to justify it by saying she's a war criminal when she ain't. She was just the vice president of the United States of America. You're a misogyny and you're anti-blackness is why you didn't vote for her. You sat here and said out your mouth, I'd rather vote for Satan himself than vote for Kamala Harris. Well, Satan is in the office now. He's in the White House now.
The second phase of the Gaza ceasefire was supposed to begin today. What happened instead is Netanyahu met with Trump to lobby his approval for another arms package to continue the war in Gaza. Again, negotiations for phase 2 were set to begin today, and they were postponed by Netanyahu until after his trip to Washington, leaving many outraged and wondering why. Well, we don't have to wait for the answer because Trump has just officially requested congressional approval for a new arms sale to Israel worth up to $1 billion. The proposed package, no doubt requested by Netanyahu himself, includes 4,700 1,000-pound bombs valued at over $700 million. It also includes armored bulldozers valued at over $300 million. And of course, after this request, Donald Trump told reporters that there is no guarantee that the ceasefire in Gaza will hold. Hamas has told the mediators in Egypt that they are ready to negotiate for phase 2. The only holdup is Netanyahu and Donald Trump. Because this ceasefire was never meant to hold. It was always meant to give Israel more time to rearm.
One of the strangest tragedies in this election result is the Arab population in Michigan. There was a group of Arabs who decided that Trump was the person they wanted to win. It wasn't just that they weren't going to vote for Kamala Harris, but they actively voted for Trump. And it was all based on Trump's telling them that he was going to call for a ceasefire as soon as he was elected. Now, I find this very sad and also perplexing because Trump is very, very close with extremely right-wing Israelis who publicly said that they wanted to annex the West Bank and Gaza, and they didn't want a ceasefire at all, and they just wanted to maximize the force being used against Palestinians. I can understand being angry at the Democrats and Kamala Harris as well as Biden on this topic, but the idea that Trump was going to be better really is perplexing. There's an Arab group that is sending a letter to Trump saying, please support the ceasefire you promised you were going to support. We voted for you because we thought you were the best choice for the country. Instead, he has nominated Marco Rubio and Mike Huckabee, and Rubio has said he is in no way supportive of a ceasefire. He thinks Israel should ramp up their campaign. And Mike Huckabee is very much on record as having said he was supportive of Israel annexing the West Bank and Gaza, or at least supportive of the people who would say that that's what they want to do. The situation for the Palestinians is going to get much, much, much worse. And this is the outcome I was concerned about. And, you know, I can understand to some extent the idea that people didn't want to vote for someone who supported a policy that they disagreed with very strongly. But the risk of it getting so much worse was something that I just didn't feel was worth it, was worth sending that message to the Democrats, because Palestinians really don't have much time and they don't have much space to go for 4 years or longer in the situation that they're in.
So now there are Palestinians who voted for Trump now regretting their vote. You ain't gotta take it from me. Watch this clip. And you know what? I am not going to be back to make commentary. All I gotta say is, this is what they voted for. And now you're disappointed. And I just don't understand why you all honestly believe that man after he has told you and he showed you. That's all I'm going to say. What's done is done. Let's go.
Days before the last presidential election, Donald Trump was the invited guest at the Great Commoner restaurant in Dearborn, Michigan. Albert Abbas says he extended that invitation, a decision he is now reflecting on given all that has happened in the last 24 hours.
Many in the community are at a loss for words. Last night was a very rough night for most of us.
Abbas is Arab American and one of a number of Democrats who voted for Trump. Abbas says he hoped Trump would do more than President Joe Biden did to help Palestinians suffering in Gaza.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
But after Trump said Palestinians should leave Gaza so it can be redeveloped, Abbas says not only does he feel betrayed, he's hearing from a number of people angered over his past support of Trump.
People were really, really frustrated, and I don't think there's anyone to blame. At the end of the day, as Arab Americans or Muslims, we really didn't have much of a choice.
Dearborn, a Detroit suburb, is home to the largest Arab American population in the United States, a community which helped Trump carry the critical swing state. He won 42% of the vote in Dearborn versus Vice President Harris with 36% and Jill Stein with 18%. In 2020, Biden handily carried the city with 69%. Faye Nimmer voted for Trump in 2024 out of frustration over the previous administration's support of Israel. Now, she is troubled by the president's proposal to move Palestinians out of Gaza.
I mean, it's very concerning and it's infuriating.
Personal feelings, you're infuriated, but standing by your decision for now to have voted for Trump.
Correct.
And what would move that needle for you to say, you know what, I made a mistake?
Palestine is the red line for this community.
Nimmer says she suspects Trump is bluffing and is using his proposal as some sort of negotiating tactic. That's the same sentiment shared by Amar Zar.
First, this is clearly not going to happen, right?
And real estate broker Ali Alfarajala.
A lot of people are calling me and texting me saying, hey, you know, how did your vote work out? You know, how was that third party vote?
Both were so-called protest voters. Neither supported Trump or Harris. Are there any sort of second thoughts now about having supported a third-party candidate?
Absolutely not. And I'll still do it again and again and again.
I didn't vote for Trump. So a protest vote, I don't know. I would say it was a targeted vote of conscience to say that the children of Gaza have to mean something. Their death has to mean something.
And while Arab Americans here were divided in the past, going forward, one point is uniting them: opposition to Trump's proposal to move Palestinians out of Gaza.
The community will be unified. I will tell you this. The Palestinian people would rather die and live in a demolition site than to be ethnically cleansed and being sent out of Gaza to Egypt or Jordan.
They're turning. They're turning. The Republicans are turning against Trump. Just look it up. There's been interviews with people over the last couple of days, Trump followers originally, who are like, no. They're like, nah, we're done. They're like, yeah, he's messing with us. It's starting to happen. The whole thing with the boat strikes, just ICE, the raids, Kristi Noem, they're talking about she's going to be fired. Like, it's all falling apart. Pete Hegseth. Just keep it up. We don't have to really fight hard. You know, the reality is this. If you feel like you're struggling, if you feel like you're broke, if you feel like your groceries are expensive, you can't afford it, if you're terrified that your health insurance is going, and meanwhile, Trump just keeps giving speeches saying we're doing great, or our economy's great, everything's great, gas prices are down, and everybody knows they're not. It just, like, it's gonna change. The people who supported him, they're just kind of like, yeah, this is kind of a joke. Yeah, we're done with him. We're done. They're done. Change is coming.
I hope y'all don't get mad at me for this, but I regret my vote. And I know what you're going to say. Well, you didn't regret it when he was making fun of the disabled community. You didn't regret it when he was threatening the people of color and the black community. You didn't regret it when he was increasing hate crimes against the LGBTQI community. Or you didn't regret it when he was changing the narrative of who literally started a war. Or you're going to say I didn't regret it when he increased hate crimes in both of his terms. Or his ignorance during COVID that cost us thousands and thousands of lives. Or I didn't regret it when he bends over for Israel and Russia. Or I should have said something when there's literally a recording of him bragging about essaying women. Or I could have caught a clue maybe during the felonies, or the way he speaks about his daughter, or maybe just the way he talks about people in general. Like the way he talks about Democrats, that should have gave me a clue how he was going to treat people in general that did not bend over for him. But alas, I must admit, it wasn't until it finally hit that it could be my children that go to war that I decided I regretted my vote. That's how dumb some of y'all sound, just saying.
I want to start with the results out of Dearborn and what Donald Trump's win means for Arab American voters there and around Michigan. What's your biggest takeaway from that?
For many of the Arab Americans in Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, and Hamtramck, it was not so much a pro-Trump vote, but really an anti-Biden-Harris administration vote. We heard that anecdotally, and I think that that is borne out in the numbers too. But I think looking forward, we have to recognize that folks that Donald Trump has already announced to be in his inner circle, in his cabinet, folks like Elise Stefanik, Marco Rubio, they are staunchly in support of Israel. So right. I don't know if the folks will have buyer's remorse in those communities, but I think that these folks will shake it.
So, brothers and sisters, please let me know what you think about this video, because honestly, I think this is a worthwhile video. This is something that we need to talk about. This is something that we need to address, because it forms one of the political focal points that we need to look into. Oftentimes, Black people just think that people want to unite with them because now they need solidarity. But this unity is for their own convenience. There is always something that they are always wanting. In the case of Trump, understand that many Black Americans have consistently warned that his politics were transactional. Were not transactional, but hierarchical. Remember that his appeal rested on dividing communities, ranking them with racial and cultural order, and mobilizing. This is what Trump does, right? Mobilizing resentment as a governing tool. While some Americans initially believed they could negotiate safety or favor through alignment by emphasizing first religion, entrepreneurship, or anti-establishment credentials, Black Americans understand that they have recognized a familiar pattern, and history had already taught them that such political movements rarely protect minority once power is consolidated. Times and times and times and times and times. And this has proven that anytime people come to seek help from the black community, usually understand that once they get what they want, they'll go away. And they'll turn, it's like they never had anything with black people. So once power is consolidated, they're done, right? They're done with black people. They're just done with black people. Now, convenience unity. This is what I'm talking about. Convenience unity, usually it relies on the assumption that anti-blackness can function as a bargaining chip. Some groups believe that distancing themselves from black struggles or even aligning with the narrative that blame black people for social instability will earn them acceptance in other communities has landed them into problem, because this logic misunderstands how racial power operates in the United States. Anti-blackness is not a stepping stone to inclusion. It is the foundation that stabilizes exclusion. When politics winds shift, those who relied on proximity to power rather than principle are often the first to be discarded. They are always the first to be discarded. You understand how this happens, right? All the regrets that right now we are seeing expressed by Trump-aligned Arabs, it shows that there is a realization that conditional belonging is not belonging at all. Because what you did, it was a conditional belonging. And now they're done with you. They have revoked you. Now you think that, oh, black people are now the realest people. Now we need to go to them, right? That's how you think. Policies and rhetoric that target immigrants, Muslims, and dissenters were never isolated. They were extension of a worldview that sees only utility, not shared humanity. When protection evaporated, appeals to black Americans surfaced, not necessarily out of ideological alignment, but out of necessity. This is the distinction between convenience unity and true unity. It becomes so much visible when you get to look at it at that point. Now, true unity requires standing together before harm reaches one's own community. Black Americans have historically been asked to mobilize, vote, protest, and advocate for others while their own warnings are ignored or minimized. When crisis intensifies, black communities are often expected to offer leadership, political labor, and emotional grace, despite being excluded from decision making when it mattered most. And you know that this pattern reinforces the idea that black people are needed as a shield, not as equals, right? So you get to understand how all this concept works. Another reason black Americans are often sought only when it is beneficial is because their long-standing role as political first responders. Due to early exposure to systemic harm, black communities tend to develop sharp analysis of power, of policy, and consequences. This insight is frequently dismissed as pessimism until events validate it. Coalition or protection without reckoning with why those critiques were ignored in the first place. So they understand so much well. That's why they always need black people. They understand so much well that black people have an history in understanding how all these things have happened. And do you know what taught them? It is through the harsh conditions that they have been. This is something that has made them vocal, right? This is something that has made them so assertive when it comes to all these political issues that are happening in the United States, right? So, the danger in responding to such appeals without reflection is the reproduction of an equal alliance. See, solidarity that does not include accountability allows the same cycle to repeat itself. Temporary alignment, political abandonment, and renewed appeals in moments of crisis. Black political thought has increasingly emphasized that unity without shared principles is fragile, and forgiveness without structural change only resets the condition for the future harm. And so you understand how all these things happen. You understand how all these things goes. I understand it's crazy that still people need black people to always benefit from black people, but they don't care about how black people think or how about black people feel when they turn against them. And all this moment expose a broader lesson about coalition politics in America. Understand that unity built on fear, self-interest, or proximity to power will always fracture under pressure. Unity built on justice requires listening with when it's uncomfortable, acting when it's necessary, and standing with others even when there is immediate reward. When there is no immediate reward. Until that distinction is understood, Black Americans will continue to be asked for help, not because they were valued, but because they were right. So brothers and sisters, please let me know what you think and feel about this video, right? I really want to know how you feel about it. I'm your host and present Agent Stories, but until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.